Good morning and happy Easter. I'm Cassidy Williams. Eric Parker has the morning off. We begin the program talking about real estate. Springtime is usually the busiest time of the year to buy or sell houses. So how are things looking in Connecticut this spring? And is the new administration having any influence on how buyers and sellers feel about making a move? Joining me is Joanne Breen. She is a broker associate with Hart Sargis Breen Real Estate and a past president with CT Realtors. Joanne, what have you been seeing so far this spring?
Well, it's been busy all year, to be honest. And this spring, the good news is we're seeing a few more homes on the market than we had last year at this time. So inventory's up a little bit, not a lot, but a little bit.
When you say a little bit, are we talking 10%, 20%, any
No,
idea?
I wish it was that much. It's probably more with single-family homes. The last time I checked, I think it was 5 or 6% more than what was on the market last year at this time.
So we're still dealing with low inventory, maybe a little bit better. So what impact does that have when you're trying to buy a home?
Well, as you and I were talking about earlier, anyone who's looking to buy is competing with a lot of other buyers in the market. So it's a great time to sell. It is a good time to buy. I mean, there are some really good buyer programs out there, and the rates have come down a little bit in the last couple of weeks, but you're going to be competing with a lot of other buyers.
How do you compete with other buyers? Any tips?
Well, the first tip I would give any buyer is to get started consulting with, pick a realtor that you're comfortable with, that you feel can be your trusted advisor, and have them help guide you. I mean, you really need, in this market more than ever, you need that expert advice. And realtors, we're trying to give people advice like getting them informed about what the real market conditions are. They'll help you determine whether or not the house that you want to put in an offer on, what the range of value that's reasonable on that house would be, and they'll help you make your offer as competitive as possible.
Now, there's been a lot happening with the stock market and interest rates and the president. So has that impacted the spring market at all?
Not really, not that I'm seeing. I don't think anything, the stock market slipped a little bit, or maybe more than a little bit. Maybe in the second home market, I'm on the shoreline, and some of those homes that came on in the last couple of weeks tend to be sitting a little bit longer than usual. Maybe that's, an indication that people that are looking for a second home, maybe because they've lost some money in the stock market right now, they may want to hold off. But by and large, it really isn't having much of an impact on the real estate market in general.
How are prices this spring? We know prices increased so much after the pandemic. Are they leveling off a little bit? Are they still going up?
They're still going up, but it seems to be not the big spikes that we were seeing in 2020 and 2021 is when the market really spiked the most. It's been going up repeatedly every year, which is good news. Once you get into the house that you want, you are going to probably make money on it just by sitting in it for the next year. We don't see that changing anytime soon. I think things are settling down a little bit and leveling off a little bit now, so I think that's good for everybody.
Said you don't see that changing. When it comes to the inventory, any signs that that's going to get better anytime soon? I
mean, legislatively, I know that the legislature is looking for anything they can, any avenues to increase inventory in housing in Connecticut, whether it's rental or for sale. But, I don't know that it's going to change anytime soon. I'm hopeful. I am seeing more sellers who are sort of sitting on the sidelines, thinking about making a move, making the decision to make the move. Especially the baby boomers, people that have really been in that 5-bedroom house, they don't really need it anymore. They hate to leave it because they're not sure where they're going to. But some of them are making plans. If they had a second home, they're going into that second home now and selling the primary residence. We're seeing more of that on the shoreline. So that helps a little bit with inventory.
And are the interest rates still kind of keeping people where they're at if they locked in a couple years ago?
I think in some cases they might be, Cassidy, but really and truly, and I've said this to people, we do a lot of consulting. We meet with a lot of clients who are thinking of making a move, maybe not next month, but in a year or two, and they want to get a feel for, what the market is really like. I think if you're happy where you are and you've got that 3% rate, that's great. But if you've outgrown the house and you need more space, or the house is just much too big for you to maintain and continue to stay there, it doesn't really make sense to let the interest rate situation keep you in where you don't want to be. because you have to look at all the expenses or all of the issues that go along with being in a property that doesn't work for you anymore.
And so far this spring, how many offers are you seeing on each house? Or is it still as many as, 20 plus like it was the past couple of years?
It depends. It really varies from town to town and house to house. If you get a house that's drop dead gorgeous, move-in ready, priced in a reasonable range, that's the house that may still be getting 20 plus offers. But I think, overall, I think it's settled down a little bit. I think anywhere from 4 to 10 is becoming more the norm, but certainly multiple offers on just about any property I've been involved with. Yeah.
And when does spring market considered, I know we're in the thick of it, when would you consider it lasting until?
I think last year it didn't change. I mean, it went right through the summer. We were busy right through the summer and into the fall. So I don't know, because of the inventory issue, if it's going to settle down at all. It used to be years ago, spring started March 1st, and it was really a hot market until the end of June. But the last few years, it just keeps on going right through the summer and the fall.
We talked a little bit about advice for buyers. Any advice for sellers? They do have a little bit more power in this type of market, but still any advice for them?
Yes, I think it's very important. It's, as strange as it may sound, pricing right now is very, very important, proper pricing. I think if a house is sitting on the market, especially in this market, it is clearly overpriced. And I don't think that serves the best interest of the seller. So it's very important that the sellers consult with their realtors and make sure that they're pricing in a good range and a reasonable range so that they attract as many buyers as possible.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us.
Welcome.
Lots of good information. It is a wild market out there.
Yes, it is.
So again, like you said, contact a good realtor.
That's
to
right.
help you through that process.
Start with a professional and really sit down and get some good advice.
Thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome.